Hey everyone, and welcome to the Glitch Clanker Bug Show. My name is Stuart, and I go by Oli Stewart on Farcaster and our co-op Future on Twitter. My clanker is Bug or Santa Clanker, as you can see in this small image below, the launch cast of it. And so I'm a clanker creator, and what Clanker is a meme coin launcher that started on the base blockchain on Farcaster and has expanded since then. And there's a big announcement today, so I wanted to make a video to discuss that. Clanker has been acquired by Farcaster, or Merkle Manufactory, which is the company behind the Farcaster social media protocol. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss a number of things about this today, and I'm going to discuss the Clanker token. I'm going to discuss what this means for Farcaster, for Clanker, and Base, and other chains as well, by the way, and other projects, and go from there. So anyway, to jump right into it, let's take a look at this discussion, this announcement rather, by Farcaster. So this is on farcasterhq.notion.site, where they have their blog announcements. And so this was just posted today, October 23rd, 2025. Quote, "We're excited to share that Clanker is joining Farcaster. Clanker is the leading launchpad on Base and home to projects like Banker, Noise, Bracky, and more. We are thrilled to join forces to make it easier for everyone to create and participate in on-chain communities. Farcaster plans to integrate Clanker more deeply into the app. More on this soon. We have a few updates for the Clanker ecosystem. Starting today, Clanker protocol fees will be used to buy and hold Clanker. We'll come back to that later. 2. Clanker v0 through v3.1 collected a portion of protocol fees in ecosystem tokens into a fee vault. The Clanker team burned these tokens earlier today, reducing the circulating supply of each. We will also circle back to this. 3. The Clanker team has also permanently locked roughly 7% of the Clanker supply into a one-sided LP to provide additional liquidity, further reducing circulating supply." It goes on with a frequently asked questions segment here. I have a Clanker ecosystem token. What's changing? Existing Clanker ecosystem tokens will continue to work as normal, and you can still create new ones. The only change is a reduced circulating supply for existing Clanker ecosystem tokens due to the treasury burn. Why were the Clanker ecosystem tokens burned? Selling tokens would likely have impacted their price. Burning the ecosystem tokens made the most sense from both a legal and tax perspective. Now, I'll pause here. So this is huge news, right? This is huge news. Clanker is a major protocol and has huge revenues. There's a lot of revenue here, and a lot of users, a lot of tokens. We'll get into that further in a minute, but it's a major protocol, and Farcaster is a major social media startup, right? And with a lot of potential, and the combination of these two is just big news, And the stepping back, there was an announcement a little while ago from the wallet company Rainbow that they had attempted to acquire Clanker, but their conditions or their proposal was a little bit less friendly to from certain people's perspective. For example, they would have dealt with the tokens differently. I believe they had, off the top of my head again, I believe they had proposed to share the token treasury vault of all these different Clanker tokens to Clanker holders, which would have been nice for Clanker holders, and that's an interesting concept of how to accrue value to the Clanker token, but it also would have created a lot of sell pressure on a lot of these project tokens, which would have been difficult for some of these folks. And instead, they're burned. So as they said, they burn them from a legal and tax perspective. And if you think about it, with the acquisition, when Merkle bought Clanker, right, they're acquiring those assets, and so what is the value of all those tokens? So there's hundreds of thousands of Clanker tokens that have launched, and the tokens, not the ETH from the fees, but the tokens from the fees that went to the Clanker treasury vault, that's a ton of tokens. And so it would have created a lot of sell pressure on those. And so instead, those got burned. And the what that means is, instead of that value going to Merkle and then they have to pay taxes on it, they would have had to sell some, in that case, at least to cover the taxes. Even if they didn't want to sell most of it, they would have had to sell a third or whatever. It says that what protocol fees will be used to buy and hold Clanker. 2/3 of all protocol fees from existing and future Clankers will be used to buy and hold Clanker. The remaining 1/3 will be reserved for taxes. So this, so they will have to pay these taxes on these tokens going forward, but they're being transparent about it, and they're laying out, you know, what's going to happen. So they're going to hold 2/3 of the tokens, and they'll have to sell a third for taxes. Makes sense. Is Clanker now the Farcaster token? No. Clanker is independent of the Farcaster protocol. Farcaster does not have a token. Clanker protocol fees will be used to buy and hold Clanker. Farcaster protocol fees from subscriptions, storage, and collectibles will continue funding cast, developer, and referral rewards. Okay. Some discussion on this. So Dan Romero, the founder of Farcaster, reiterated this this clear no in a response to a cast earlier as well. But I don't know. I suppose that's debatable from the community's perspective, right? From my perspective, right? Think about it this way: if Farcaster released a Farcaster token, what will the tokenomics be? What will the distribution be? Will it be a fair launch? Will they clank it in the timeline? Will they airdrop it? Will they reserve, you know, how much for the team? And so on. There's a lot of questions. How will the token accrue value? And so on. And the thing about the Clanker token, and now Farcaster owns Clanker, and the Clanker token benefits from all of the activity on Farcaster already. So it's already mechanically the Farcaster ecosystem token, de facto, right, in a practical sense. So they can say that it's not the official Farcaster token. Okay, maybe they're leaving the door open for, you know, making their own network token or whatever later. I don't know. Who knows? Or for whatever reason they may have said that. I don't want to speculate. That's just, you know, a thought. But Clanker, my friends, is the Farcaster token. Let me know if you agree in the comments. All right, what will you do with the Clanker tokens you accumulate? We plan to hold them. Okay, well, I guess that's fine for now. They just announced it, so we'll let them get back to that later. Do you have any future plans for the Clanker token? Not at this time. Okay, so they could figure something out later. I don't know, airdrop or whatever. Part of this acquisition is they put 7% of the Clanker supply, the Clanker token supply, locked permanently in the LP. So they already added a whole bunch to the LP, but they could add more. That's another thing they could do with it. They could airdrop, they could burn, they could sell it. Anyway, okay. they can figure that out later. Is this investment advice? No. And neither is anything in this video, by the way. This is all just for information and entertainment as we explore this stuff together. Okay, so let's move on. And that's the announcement. And I want to talk about Farcaster, right? So what is Farcaster? This is a social media protocol, but it's really focused on crypto, and it's pivoted even further in this direction. It's also targeted to others. There's a lot of other content on there, fitness, sports, pets, travel, art, music. It's a well-rounded social media, but the Merkle team has decided to focus on on-ramping crypto users because that's the biggest or most efficient way to grow the protocol in the short term, at least. So you can see their page here. They've pivoted from here's a social media app. Oh, by the way, it has crypto. To no, this is a crypto app. Discover, trade, create, Clank, right? Clank. And that is why, that's part of the reason this makes sense, right? Okay, if you're going to pivot to trading and tokens, you've got this wallet, that's great, but you need something else. A launcher makes perfect sense. It's all of these contracts. The thing about Clanker, and I'm going to move on here from Farcaster to talk about Clanker a bit. The thing about Clanker is it's built up this social capital by just being reliable, right? None of the Clankers have been rugged. The Clanker has not been hacked. Clanker even had whatever, we won't get into it right now. We'll call it a questionable person involved. and nothing got rugged or destroyed. The contracts are fine. Many millions of dollars have moved through this, and there's no issues. And so that's the thing, is you can see people launching the Clanker in the timeline and go, okay, that is their real account. They're talking about this project. They created this token right there in the timeline or linked to your Farcaster account or whatever. They don't have to be created in the timeline, but often the Clankers are. And so that is intrinsically linked to the Farcaster protocol. And so these are really came up together. And Clanker helped make Farcaster special. So in 2024, it was degen, right? And that the tipping meta. And that was super interesting. 2024, degen was great. But 2025, we needed something new, something more, something novel, something more crypto, right? And that was Clanker. It fit the bill. It was perfect timing and perfect contracts, as far as we know. And so they, as you can see on the page here, over 500,000 Clankers have been launched. $177 million ecosystem market cap. $4.2 billion ecosystem volume. And almost $42 million in creator fees. So that's Clanker, and why it makes sense to combine it with Farcaster, right? These are two pieces of a puzzle that work together, complementary, to make something novel, something unique. So that's cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about Clanker from the chart. So here is the Clanker all-time weekly candle chart, and it's at about 38 million now. But you can see, so we've had a big candle today, but you can see when you zoom out, this is just getting started, potentially. And these two big spikes in the beginning, first was the launch. The second one was the Coinbase listing. And so there was huge interest and volume and speculation around that time. and then it's petered off since then. And a lot of that is not necessarily due to Clanker, but due to the macro conditions, right? Altcoins have been crushed. It's been tough to be an altcoin for most of 2025. Clanker is no exception. So it's hard to exactly say how much of this is Clanker and how much is the markets, but it's what we can say looking at this chart is that Clanker needed something, right? It needed a catalyst, it needed momentum to shift in a bullish direction, something. And part of the reason, and this part is me speculating, but part of the reason is because after the whole proxy Alex situation, there was a lot of questions and people wondering, okay, is this really legitimate? Are all the funds safe? Is all the contracts safe? Looking back, as far as we know, again, everything is safe and everything was fine, nothing was stolen. But it was a question for a while, and so there was a big drop off there. And then after that, it was sort of like, well, the team is still building. It looks good. They have, things are good, but where is this all going? What's happening with all the tokens? What's happening with all the tokenomics and the planned, there was uncertainty. And so this deal, the acquisition by Farcaster, part of why it's a big deal for Clanker is because this really clears up a lot of the clarity, and that was a part of why people were so excited by the Rainbow acquisition attempt or proposition, is because a lot of people were just like, well, we've been holding Clanker for months, the token, and while we like Clanker, the protocol and the team, we're just not really sure, and we have all these questions and so on. So this puts a lot of that to rest. Now, all the questions have not been answered. This was just the announcement. We need a lot more details, and we'll see how this goes going forward. But that's part of why this is a big deal. So we'll see where we go from here. But this is, I don't know. We'll see. I'm pretty bullish on the token here with long term. I'll say long term. And again, this is not financial advice. Just curiosity and information and what have you. So take responsibility. But it's interesting. It's certainly interesting to see what happens here. Jack Dishman, Clanker co-founder, says Clanker was only possible because of Farcaster. Its wires are deeply rooted in the open social graph and flourishing ecosystem of developers, traders, creators, and community. We're ecstatic to plant ourselves as a permanent pillar of the Farcaster network and continue to build out the best token deployment framework possible. To the Clanker community, thank you for your unwavering support. The best is yet to come. Clank, clank. And then Dan says, thrilled to have them joining the team. And then Lily, who is also on the Clanker team, who is at Lobster Mindset, says, excited to continue working on social token launches with a bigger team. Clanker's biggest unlock was bringing social context to launchpads. A deeper integration with Farcaster is a major upgrade that we're thrilled to bring to all of our users. Clank, clank. And this is a great point. So as I was sort of mentioning this earlier, but to go a little further, how do you think it is going to be implemented? How are they going to bring Clanker into the actual Farcaster app and experience more directly than it already is? That's a very interesting question from a user interface and user experience perspective. And I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. Farcaster posts biggest swap day ever for the Farcaster app. Interesting. Okay. All right, let's go on to a couple other comments here. And this one is from Tim Riley, who is the founder of the Bracky token, which is a Clanker token with regards to sports betting. And Tim here talks about how the Clanker Treasury was a major holder because of the fee accumulation. And so when as I mentioned earlier, when the Rainbow CEO did their proposal, they were going to send these tokens to the holders, which would surely get insta-dumped by most. That was a wake-up call for me. Farcaster plus Clanker, on the other hand, has already burned the existing accumulated Bracky supply, about 2% of the total supply, and gave us clarity about future use. Moving along, and so this is just, basically bullish and talking about and this really mirrors what I was seeing from a lot of the founders of Clanker projects, is that this is a good deal and for both sides and the community, win-win-win. So that's mostly what I saw. And if you saw any dissenting opinions, link them to me in the comments, because I'd love to see them out of curiosity. I didn't see any though, because from what I saw, it's all positive. I wanted to also mention this post by pizza.base.eth about how this announcement wasn't front ran. So a lot of times you see corruption in crypto where someone on the team or someone tangentially involved knows about the deal ahead of time, and you look at the chart and you see it. It's like, come on. You see maybe a half hour or an hour or a day or whatever before the announcement, someone comes in and buys a huge chunk, and and then the announcement comes out, and it's like, okay, well, that explains that, but that's corruption. Right? You do not see that here. Look at this. There's the announcement. So there's nothing here. There's no leak, no front running, no corruption visible at a glance, which is great in crypto, right? So I wanted to discuss a little bit more about these token burns, because in my case, for Glitch Clanker Bug, you can see that down here at number 38. Maybe it's on the next page or whatever, but in terms of how many tokens they burned, there it is. Bug, 3,312,621,350 bug tokens. Over 3% of the supply of my Clanker, currently worth about $2,400. They could have sold it, and instead they burned it, reducing the supply and eliminating that question of potential sell pressure from a concentrated wallet. So in the case of my Clanker and a bunch of others, it's the same thing. It's this. It's nice when people go on the deck screener or Etherscan or Basescan or whatever, and they look it up and they see the holders, and there's a big holder that's holding several percent. If they don't know the context of, oh, that's the Clanker Treasury, then they don't know what's going on there, and even if they do, they don't know what's going on there previously. Now they do, and those tokens are burned. So that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about, before I wrap up today, and thank you so much if you're sticking with me. But I really wanted to talk a little bit about. Oh yeah, first of all, I want to say, Moon Poppy, who is also on the Clanker team, had posted that it was over $3 million, some 3.1 something million dollars estimated of Clanker ecosystem tokens that they burned, instead of selling or airdropping or whatever. So just a Chad move, and respect for going that route. And so anyway, so the Clanker is part of Farcaster now. It's not going anywhere. What does that mean for other projects, right? There's a ton. Top clankers like Banker and Bracky. This is great for them. But also, and quickly, almost $1 million of Banker was burned, by the way, which is wild. So that's, anyway. So this is my Clanker, which I had tried to make Santa Clanker, as you can see below, but Clanker had a glitch and named it Bug instead in November 24. This video is not about that, but I wanted to show this tool, Empire Builder, by Divyfly and your Berserker. And this tool is brilliant and critical. So everybody's going to have clankers. A lot of people have Zora Creator coins and other things like that. You can go in and make a Empire Builder page for your token. And then you have this page where you have distributed to holders and burned and airdropped NFTs and a treasury. You can launch a Tiny Labs bot intern. You can have boosters for your holders, different tokens to, have community connections, and, holding the NFTs or the whatever, other coins that you may have founded. You can link them all together here to boost your project. You can have different leaderboards. So this is you can claim your rewards right into this mini app, into the treasury, so that people can see that you're not going to sell those. They're either going out to the community or getting burned. All kind of things you can do with this. So, and this project right now is under 150K market cap. The token is Clanker, Glanker. Again, not financial advice, just something that's interesting that I think you might want to take a look at. And it's just a tool that helps all these clankers do more and have a lot of optionality for creators. Minted Merch is another really cool one. This is another Farcaster project with a Clanker token, and they do merch for a lot of other Farcaster Clanker projects, not exclusively, but a lot of awesome stuff. The shirt I'm wearing is actually my OK Computer NFT that hosts the web page for Glitch Clanker Bug, but they have a shirt where you can get the OK Computer NFT on your shirt that corresponds to the one that you own. So that's very cool. Another Clanker ecosystem project that could be super useful going forward. This is Clankermon, which is sweet. So this is just like a promo video on their webpage. But Clankermon is a game that's being developed by Matthew Fox and Arek, and the Clanker tokens have these characters, and then they battle in the game, and their stats go up and down depending on how that token is trading the day before. So it's just an interesting thing. Again, in the Clanker ecosystem, and and there's a lot of other things like that where it's just we don't know where this is going, and I would love to hear from you what you think as well about about where this is going, what it means for Clanker and Base and Farcaster and the Base app and so on. And I also just wanted to really quick note that, actually, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Clanker World for just a moment here, because I want to just quickly make a point that Clankers are on 5 chains now: Ethereum mainnet, Unichain, Abstract, Base, and Arbitrum. So now Farcaster is not just a Base project. Farcaster now owns smart contract infrastructure and token treasuries on all 5 of these chains. Interesting, right? So who knows, what could come from that. But anyway, would love to hear your thoughts and questions, and thanks if you stuck around, and hopefully this video was helpful to just kind of do a TLDR, not that it was short, but a roundup of a lot of the questions and announcements and everything that came out today. And super exciting news for everybody. Congratulations again to the Clanker team, to Farcaster, to Clanker holders, to Clanker project creators, and everyone in the community. Hope you have a good one, and I will see you all soon.